Snow fell harder. Olivia Hale stood frozen on black marble steps wearing an emerald dress that screamed money she didn't have. Behind her, Manhattan's most dangerous man waited inside a car with tinted windows. Dante Ricci, Mafia heir, her boss. The man who destroyed careers with a single phone call. 12 hours ago, she was invisible, buried under spreadsheets and midnight emails. Now she was supposed to walk into his family Christmas party and pretend to be his girlfriend. One night, one lie, one chance at freedom. But the moment his hand touched her lower back to guide her toward the glowing mansion, Olivia's stomach twisted with a truth she couldn't ignore. This wasn't going to end the way either of them planned. The doors opened. The music stopped. Every single person turned to stare. And Dante Ricci, the man who feared nothing, looked at her like she could ruin him. If you want to see where this story goes, hit that like button right now and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this wild ride travels. Let's get into it. Bonk! Olivia's heels clicked against the marble floor, loud enough to make her wince. The mansion stretched out before her like something pulled straight from a nightmare disguised as a dream. Chandeliers dripping crystal, gold-trimmed walls, tables buried under champagne bottles and white roses. Christmas lights glowed everywhere, soft and warm, but the air felt sharp, cold, expensive. She didn't belong here. Dante's hand stayed pressed against her back, firm and possessive, guiding her deeper into the chaos. His family surrounded them immediately. Aunts with sharp eyes, uncles with whiskey breath, cousins who smiled too wide. They looked at Olivia like she was a puzzle they needed to solve before dessert. Dante. A woman in her 50s approached first, diamonds heavy around her throat. You didn't tell us you were bringing someone. I don't tell you a lot of things, Aunt Maria. Maria's smile didn't reach her eyes. She turned to Olivia, scanning her head to toe like she was pricing livestock. And you are? Olivia opened her mouth, but Dante spoke first. Olivia Hale, my girlfriend. The word landed like a grenade. Maria blinked. Someone dropped a glass across the room. A younger woman near the fireplace actually gasped. Olivia forced herself to smile. It's nice to meet you. Maria recovered quickly, her expression smoothing back into practiced politeness. Well, this is a surprise. Dante never brings anyone home. First time for everything, Dante said flatly. He steered Olivia away before Maria could ask another question, weaving through clusters of relatives who whispered the moment they passed. Olivia could feel their stares burning into her shoulders. You okay? Dante murmured, his mouth close to her ear. Perfect, Olivia lied. He didn't believe her. She could tell by the way his jaw tightened, the muscle ticking just beneath his skin. Dante Ricci didn't do concern. He didn't do soft. But right now, his hand hadn't left her back, and his eyes kept flicking toward hers like he was checking for cracks. They stopped near the fireplace. A waiter appeared instantly with champagne. Dante took 2 glasses and handed one to Olivia without looking at the server. The guy disappeared like smoke. How long do we have to stay? Olivia asked quietly. 3 hours, maybe 4. Jesus. You can do this. Can I? She took a long sip of champagne. It tasted expensive and wrong. Your aunt looked at me like I crawled out of a dumpster. Maria looks at everyone like that. Even you? Especially me. Olivia laughed before she could stop herself. It came out sharp and nervous, cutting through the soft Christmas music floating across the room. A few people glanced over. Dante's lips twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. Relax, he said. You're doing fine. I don't feel fine. You look fine. Her stomach flipped. Olivia hated how those 3 words landed, warm and heavy in her chest. She glanced up at Dante, but he was already looking away, scanning the room with the same cold calculation he used in boardrooms before destroying competitors. This was a mistake. Olivia had known it the moment he asked her this morning. She'd been standing in his penthouse office organizing contracts when Dante walked in looking like he'd been awake for 3 days straight. His tie hung loose, his shirt was wrinkled, dark circles bruised the skin under his eyes. I need a favor, he'd said. Olivia had frozen. Dante Ricci didn't ask for favors, he gave orders. What kind of favor? I need you to come to my family's Christmas party tonight. Why? Because rumors are spreading that I'm unstable, alone, dangerous. He'd paused, his jaw working. My father thinks I need to prove I'm not a liability. And how does dragging me to a party help? You'll be my girlfriend. Olivia had stared at him. Excuse me? It's fake. One night, you show up, smile, let my family think I'm capable of maintaining a relationship. Then it's done. And what do I get out of this? Dante had looked at her for a long moment, something unreadable flickering across his face. 1 week, paid vacation, no emails, no calls, complete silence from me. Olivia hadn't had a real vacation in 4 years. She'd said yes. Now standing in the middle of his family's mansion, surrounded by people who could buy and sell her entire life without blinking, Olivia wondered if a week of peace was worth whatever the hell this night was about to become. Dante! A man's voice cut through the noise. Olivia turned to see someone around Dante's age striding toward them. Tall, dark-haired, grinning like he'd just won a bet. He wore a perfectly tailored navy suit and moved with the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. Dante's entire body went rigid. Luca, he said flatly. Luca ignored him completely. His eyes locked on Olivia, and his grin widened. And who is this? Off limits, Dante said. That's not a name. Olivia extended her hand before Dante could say something that started a fight. Olivia Hale. Luca took her hand and kissed her knuckles like they were living in a period drama. Luca Ricci, Dante's favorite cousin. Only cousin, Dante corrected coldly. Semantics. Luca released Olivia's hand but didn't step back. He looked at her like she was the most interesting thing in the room. So, how'd you two meet? I work for him, Olivia said. Luca's eyebrows shot up. You're his assistant? Executive assistant. Even better, Luca laughed, glancing at Dante. You're dating your assistant? That's bold, even for you. We're done here, Dante said. Relax, I'm just making conversation. Luca turned back to Olivia, ignoring the warning in Dante's voice. How long have you been putting up with him? 4 years. 4 years? Luca whistled. You deserve a medal. Olivia felt Dante's hand tighten against her back. Not painfully, just possessive. She glanced up at him and saw something dark flickering behind his eyes. Anger. Maybe jealousy. Definitely control slipping. Luca, Dante said quietly. Walk away. Why? I'm just getting to know Olivia. Now. Luca held up his hands in mock surrender, still grinning. Fine, but save me a dance later, Olivia. He disappeared into the crowd before Dante could respond. Olivia felt the tension radiating off him like heat from a furnace. Breathe, she whispered. I'm fine. You're not. Dante's gaze snapped down to hers, sharp and dangerous. He was flirting with you. I noticed. In front of me. I noticed that too. And you didn't stop him. Olivia blinked. You want me to be rude to your cousin at your family Christmas party? Dante didn't answer. He just stared at her, jaw locked, breathing controlled but heavy. Olivia had seen him angry before, big, cold, calculated fury that dismantled people without raising his voice. This was different. This was raw. Dante, she said carefully. We're supposed to be pretending, remember? I know. Then why do you look like you want to kill him? Because I do. Olivia's pulse kicked up. She opened her mouth to respond, but another voice interrupted. Everyone, games in the living room. The crowd shifted, moving toward the back of the mansion like a slow tide. Dante exhaled through his nose and took Olivia's hand, not her back, her actual hand, threading their fingers together. Come on, he muttered. They followed the group into a massive living room where furniture had been pushed aside to create space. People grabbed chairs, forming a loose circle. Olivia spotted Luca on the far side, still grinning. Maria stood near the fireplace holding a wine glass like a weapon. An older man, silver-haired, sharp-eyed, clearly someone important, clapped his hands together. Welcome, welcome, Christmas games, family tradition. He looked directly at Dante. And this year, we have a special guest. Every eye turned to Olivia. Her stomach dropped. The older man smiled. Let's play a game called How Well Do You Know Each Other? Couples Edition. Oh no. Dante's hand tightened around hers. Maria stepped forward, pulling out a small stack of cards. We'll ask questions. You both write down your answers. Let's see if Dante's new girlfriend really knows him. Luca laughed from across the room. This is going to be good. Olivia's heart pounded. She glanced at Dante, but his face had gone blank. The same expressionless mask he wore during hostile negotiations. He gave her hand a small squeeze. Reassurance? Warning? She couldn't tell. Maria pulled the first card. Question 1. What's Dante's favorite meal? Olivia froze. She had no idea. She'd ordered him lunch 1,000 times, but he never ate the same thing twice. She scribbled something generic, steak, and prayed. Dante wrote without hesitation. They flipped their answers. Steak. Steak. Relief flooded through Olivia. Maria looked mildly disappointed. Lucky guess, someone muttered. Question 2, Maria continued. Where did you have your first kiss? Olivia's pen hovered. They'd never kissed. This was fake. She glanced at Dante. He was already writing. She scribbled the first thing that came to mind. His office. They flipped. His office. His office. The room murmured. Luca whistled. Maria's expression tightened. Question 3. Who said I love you first? Olivia's chest constricted. This was getting dangerous. She looked at Dante again. He met her eyes for half a second, something unreadable passing between them. She wrote, He did. Dante wrote, I did. The room erupted. No way, Luca said, laughing. Dante said it first? I don't believe it. Maria looked genuinely shocked. Dante doesn't say things like that. Olivia felt her face heat. Dante's jaw tightened, but he didn't deny it, didn't explain, just sat there looking like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. The questions kept coming, faster, more invasive. What's her biggest fear? What's his worst habit? Who's more jealous? By the 10th question, Olivia's hands were shaking. They'd gotten every answer right, not because they planned it, not because they rehearsed, but because somehow, impossibly, they actually knew each other. 4 years of late nights, midnight emails, coffee orders memorized, unspoken routines. They knew each other, and now everyone in the room could see it. Maria set down the cards, her smile thin. Well, you two certainly seem compatible. Told you, Luca called out. Dante's in love. Shut up, Luca, Dante said quietly. But he didn't let go of Olivia's hand. The party continued around them. Music, laughter, more champagne. But Olivia couldn't focus. Her mind kept replaying the game, the answers, the way Dante had looked at her when they matched perfectly. This was supposed to be fake. So why did it feel real? Hours blurred together. Olivia smiled through endless introductions, answered invasive questions about how they met, laughed at stories she'd never heard before. Dante stayed close the entire time, his presence solid and grounding, even as the night spiraled into chaos. By 11, Olivia needed air. She slipped away while Dante was cornered by an uncle asking about business expansions. The mansion had too many hallways, too many rooms, but she found a door leading to a balcony and pushed through it into the freezing night. Snow fell in soft flakes. The city glowed beyond the estate walls. Olivia leaned against the railing and exhaled, watching her breath fog in the cold. Running away? She spun. Luca stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, grinning. Just needed a break, Olivia said. Fair. He stepped outside, closing the door behind him. Hell of a night. You could say that. Luca moved to the railing beside her, close but not touching. You're good, you know. At what? Playing the part. You almost had me convinced. Olivia's stomach dropped. What? Come on. Luca's grin widened. You think I buy this? Dante Ricci, the guy who treats women like quarterly reports, suddenly has a girlfriend, his assistant, no less? Olivia forced her expression to stay neutral. You don't know him as well as you think. Maybe. Or maybe you're exactly what my family needs to see right now. Luca tilted his head. Either way, I'm impressed. You're pulling it off. Before Olivia could respond, the door slammed open. Dante stood there, snow dusting his shoulders, eyes locked on Luca with an intensity that made Olivia's breath catch. Get inside, Dante said. Luca raised an eyebrow. We're just talking. Now. Jesus, Dante, relax. Luca. Dante's voice dropped to something deadly. If you don't walk away in the next 5 seconds, I'm going to throw you off this balcony. Luca stared at him. Then he laughed, sharp and disbelieving. You're serious. Try me. For a moment, Olivia thought Luca might actually push it, but then he shook his head, still grinning, and raised his hands in surrender. Fine. She's all yours. He walked past Dante, pausing at the door. But you might want to figure out what the hell this actually is before you lose your mind over it. He disappeared inside. Silence fell. Dante didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there breathing hard, staring at the spot where Luca had been. Dante, Olivia said quietly. He turned to her, and the look in his eyes stole the words from her throat. Anger, jealousy, something darker, something that looked a lot like fear. I'm not used to this, he said finally. Used to what? Caring when another man looks at you. Olivia's heart stopped. Dante stepped closer, snow falling between them. His voice came out rough, raw. I'm not used to wanting to break someone's face because they made you laugh. I'm not used to... He stopped, jaw working. I don't know what the hell this is. Dante, tell me to stop. Stop what? Feeling like this. He moved closer, close enough that Olivia could see the tension in every line of his body. Tell me this is still fake. Tell me you're just playing a role. Tell me something that makes this make sense. Olivia couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything except stare at the man she'd worked for, feared, respected, and somehow, impossibly, started to care about in ways that terrified her. I can't, she whispered. Dante's eyes darkened. Why not? Because I don't know if it's fake anymore either. The words hung between them, fragile and dangerous. Then Dante kissed her, not soft, not careful, hard and desperate, like he'd been holding back for years and finally snapped. His hands cupped her face, thumbs brushing her jaw as he pulled her closer. Olivia gasped against his mouth, and Dante took advantage, deepening the kiss until her knees went weak. Snow fell around them, music drifted from inside. The world kept spinning, but right there on that balcony, everything stopped. When Dante finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. His forehead rested against hers, eyes closed. This wasn't supposed to happen, he said. I know. I don't do this. I don't... He stopped, swallowing hard. I don't let people in. I know that too. So what the hell are we doing? Olivia didn't have an answer. She just reached up and touched his face, her fingers trembling against his jaw. Dante opened his eyes, looked at her like she was the only real thing in a world built on lies. Then the door opened again. Maria stood there, wine glass in hand, eyes sharp. Dante, your father wants to see you. Dante didn't move, didn't look away from Olivia. Now, Maria added. Finally, Dante stepped back. His hands fell away from Olivia's face, and the cold rushed in to fill the space. Wait here, he said quietly. Then he was gone. Olivia stood alone on the balcony, heart pounding, lips still burning from a kiss that had just shattered every carefully constructed wall between them. This wasn't fake anymore, and she had absolutely no idea what happened next. Olivia stayed on the balcony for exactly 3 minutes after Dante left. She counted every second, watching snow pile up on the railing while her heart tried to break through her ribs. Her lips still tingled, her hands still shook. The cold bit through the emerald dress, but she barely felt it. Inside, the party continued like nothing had happened, like the world hadn't just tilted sideways. She pressed her fingers to her mouth, trying to make sense of what the hell had just occurred. Dante Ricci had kissed her. Not for show. Not for his family. He'd kissed her like a man drowning, and she'd let him. Worse, she'd kissed him back. Olivia pushed off the railing and went inside before her brain could spiral further. The mansion hallway was empty. Thank God. She could hear voices coming from the living room, laughter and music blending together into noise that made her head pound. She needed to find a bathroom, needed to fix her lipstick, needed 5 goddamn minutes to breathe. She turned a corner and nearly collided with someone. Whoa! Luca stepped back, hands up. You okay? Fine, Olivia lied. Luca's eyes dropped to her mouth. His grin sharpened. Your lipstick's smudged. Heat flooded Olivia's face. She wiped at her lips with the back of her hand, smearing the deep red further. Thanks for the observation. Let me guess. Dante? None of your business. That's a yes. Luca leaned against the wall, looking far too pleased with himself. You really lost it out there, huh? Olivia crossed her arms. What do you want, Luca? Just checking on you. My cousin has a habit of breaking things when he gets possessive. I'm not a thing. No, you're not. Luca's expression shifted, something almost genuine flickering across his face. Which is why I'm wondering what the hell you're doing with him. I told you, you're dating, right? The assistant who suddenly became his girlfriend right when the family started asking questions about his stability. Luca tilted his head. Convenient timing. Olivia's stomach tightened. You don't know what you're talking about. Maybe. Or maybe I know Dante better than you think. Luca pushed off the wall, moving closer. Not threatening, just present. He's not a good man, Olivia. You know that, right? Whatever you think is happening between you two. Luca. Both of them turned. Dante stood at the end of the hallway, eyes locked on his cousin with an expression that could cut glass. We're having a conversation, Luca said. No, you're leaving. Jesus Christ, Dante, I'm just... Now. Luca held Dante's stare for a long moment. Then he shook his head and walked past him without another word. His shoulder bumped Dante's deliberately as he passed. Dante didn't move, didn't react, just waited until Luca disappeared around the corner before turning to Olivia. What did he say to you? Nothing important. Olivia. He asked if I was okay. That's it. Dante didn't believe her. She could see it in the way his jaw worked, the tension radiating through his shoulders. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in the 20 minutes since she'd last seen him. What did your father want? Olivia asked. Dante's expression went blank. Nothing that matters right now. That's not an answer. I know. Silence stretched between them, heavy and uncertain. Olivia wanted to ask about the kiss, wanted to know if it meant what she thought it meant, but the words stuck in her throat, too big and terrifying to say out loud. We should go back, Dante said finally. Do we have to? Something flickered in his eyes. Relief, maybe. No. Then don't make me. Dante exhaled slowly. He glanced back toward the party, then at Olivia, like he was weighing options he didn't want to consider. Finally, he held out his hand. Come on. Olivia took it without hesitation. He led her deeper into the mansion, away from the noise and lights. They passed closed doors and empty rooms until Dante stopped in front of a heavy wooden door with old-fashioned brass handles. He pushed it open and pulled Olivia inside. The room was an office. Dark wood paneling, leather furniture, bookshelves lining every wall. A massive desk sat near the window, paper scattered across its surface. It smelled like cigars and old money. My grandfather's study, Dante said quietly. No one uses it anymore. Olivia turned to face him. They stood close enough that she could see the exhaustion carved into every line of his face. Are you okay? I don't know. That's honest. I'm trying to be. Olivia's chest tightened. She'd spent 4 years watching Dante Ricci operate like a machine, cold, calculated, ruthlessly efficient. She'd seen him destroy competitors without blinking, fire employees with a single sentence, navigate hostile boardrooms like a predator. This version of him, raw and uncertain and almost fragile, was completely foreign. What happened with your father? She asked again. Dante moved to the desk and leaned against it, arms crossed. He wanted to know if you're real. What did you tell him? I told him yes. Olivia's breath caught. Why? Because in that moment, it felt true. The admission hung between them like a live wire. Olivia's pulse thundered in her ears. She took a step closer, then another, until she stood directly in front of him. Dante, I shouldn't have kissed you, he said, cutting her off. That wasn't part of the plan. I know, and I can't promise I won't do it again. Olivia's stomach flipped. I'm not asking you to. Dante's eyes snapped to hers, dark and intense. You should be. Why? Because I'm not good at this. Relationships, caring about people. I'm good at control, power, winning. He pushed off the desk, closing the distance between them until there was barely any space left. But you make me feel out of control, and I don't know what the hell to do with that. Olivia reached up and touched his face, her palm against his jaw. Then don't do anything, just feel it. Dante's hand came up to cover hers, pressing it harder against his skin. His eyes closed for a moment, like he was trying to memorize the contact. "This is a bad idea," he whispered. "Probably. I could ruin you." "You already have." His eyes opened. "What?" 4 years, Dante. I've spent 4 years organizing your life, managing your schedule, cleaning up your messes. You think I don't know who you are? What you're capable of?" Olivia's voice cracked. "You ruined me the moment I realized I didn't hate working for you, that I actually cared if you ate lunch, if you slept, if you were okay." Dante stared at her like she'd just confessed to murder. "I never asked for that," he said. "I know, that's what makes it worse." He kissed her again, harder this time, desperate and almost angry. Olivia gasped against his mouth and he backed her up until she hit the desk. His hands gripped her waist, lifting her onto the edge while his body pressed between her legs. The kiss turned molten. Dante's hands slid up her sides, thumbs brushing the curve of her ribs through the thin fabric of her dress. Olivia's fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer, needing more of whatever this was. Then the door opened. They broke apart instantly. Olivia's heart slammed against her ribs as Maria stepped into the room, wineglass still in hand, eyes sharp as knives. "Well," Maria said slowly, "this is cozy." Dante didn't move from between Olivia's legs, didn't step back, didn't apologize. He just stared at his aunt with an expression that could freeze fire. "Get out," he said. "I don't think so." Maria closed the door behind her and moved deeper into the room. "We need to talk." "Not now." "Yes, now." Maria's gaze flicked to Olivia, assessing and cold. "Alone." "Anything you need to say, you can say in front of Olivia." Maria's smile was razor thin. "Fine. I know this is fake." The room went silent. Olivia's stomach dropped straight through the floor. She glanced at Dante, but his expression hadn't changed, hadn't even flinched. "You don't know anything," Dante said flatly. "Please. I've known you since you were born, Dante. You think I can't spot a performance when I see one?" Maria took a sip of wine, her eyes never leaving his. The coincidental timing, the perfect answers during the game, the way you two look at each other like you're still figuring out how to pretend. She laughed, sharp and bitter. "You're good, but not that good." Olivia felt her pulse hammering in her throat. This was it, the lie collapsing in real time. But Dante didn't back down. "You're wrong," he said. "Am I?" "Yes." Maria's expression hardened. "Don't lie to me, Dante. I know why you brought her here. Your father's worried about you. The board's worried. Rumors are spreading that you're unstable, that you can't be trusted with the family business." She gestured at Olivia. "So you manufactured a girlfriend to prove you're normal, functional, safe." "That's not— I don't care if it's true or not." Maria cut him off, her voice turning sharp. "What I care about is what happens when this blows up in your face. When she leaves, when the truth comes out. What do you think that does to our reputation?" Dante's hands tightened on the desk. "I'm handling it." "Are you?" "Because from where I'm standing, you look like a man who's already in too deep." Olivia couldn't take it anymore. She slid off the desk, putting herself between Dante and Maria. "You're right." Dante's head snapped toward her. "Olivia." "It was fake," Olivia said, meeting Maria's eyes. "At first, he asked me to pretend for one night, to help with his image, and I agreed." Maria's smile turned triumphant. "I knew it. But that's not what this is anymore," Olivia continued. "I don't know what it is. Maybe it's still a mistake, maybe we're both idiots, but it stopped being fake the moment he kissed me like he meant it." Maria blinked. For the first time, she looked genuinely surprised. Dante's hand found Olivia's, threading their fingers together. When she glanced at him, his expression had softened. Just barely. Just enough. "Get out, Maria," Dante said quietly. Maria stared at them both for a long moment. Then she set her wineglass down on a nearby table with a sharp clink. "Fine. But when this falls apart, don't say I didn't warn you." She walked to the door, paused with her hand on the handle. And Dante, your father's watching. Don't disappoint him. She left. The door clicked shut. Silence crashed down like a wave. Olivia exhaled shakily, her legs suddenly weak. That was stupid, Dante finished. You didn't have to defend me. Yes, I did. Why? Because she was wrong. Olivia turned to face him fully. It's not fake anymore. You know it. I know it. And pretending otherwise is just going to make this worse. Dante stared at her, something unreadable flickering across his face. Then he pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her like he was afraid she'd disappear if he let go. I don't know how to do this, he said into her hair. Neither do I. Then we're both screwed. Olivia laughed despite everything. It came out shaky and wrong, but real. Yeah, we are. They stayed like that for a while, tangled together in his grandfather's study while the party continued without them. Eventually, Dante pulled back, his hands framing her face. We need to go back out there, he said. I know. And we need to finish this night without my family tearing us apart. Can we do that? I don't know, but we're going to try. Olivia nodded. Dante kissed her forehead, soft, almost reverent, and then led her back into the chaos. The party had gotten louder, drunker. Someone had turned up the music until it pounded through the walls. People danced in the living room, shouting over each other, glasses clinking in endless toasts. Olivia and Dante slipped back into the crowd, his hand never leaving hers. Luca appeared almost immediately, grinning like he knew exactly where they'd been. There you are, he said, words slightly slurred. Thought you'd escaped. Not yet, Dante said flatly. Shame. Things are getting interesting. Luca gestured toward the dance floor where several couples swayed messily to the music. You two should dance. Pass, Dante said. Come on, it's Christmas. Live a little. Luca. But Olivia squeezed Dante's hand. One dance won't kill you. Dante looked at her like she'd suggested they set the mansion on fire. I don't dance. Tonight you do. Something shifted in his expression. Resignation, maybe. Or surrender. He led Olivia onto the makeshift dance floor, pulling her close as a slow song started playing. His hand settled on her waist. Hers rested on his shoulder. They swayed together, awkward and uncertain at first. Then Dante pulled her closer, until there was no space left between them, and Olivia let her head rest against his chest. She could hear his heartbeat, fast and uneven, matching hers. Around them, the family watched, whispered, smiled knowingly, but Olivia didn't care anymore. For the first time all night, she felt safe. Then she saw Maria watching from across the room, her expression calculating and cold. Their eyes met. Maria raised her wine glass in a mocking toast. Olivia's stomach twisted. What's wrong? Dante murmured against her hair. Nothing. You're lying. I'm fine. Dante pulled back enough to look at her, his eyes searching hers. Olivia, a loud crash interrupted him. Everyone turned toward the entrance where two men had stumbled in, clearly drunk, arguing loudly about something incomprehensible. The music cut off. People started shouting. Dante's entire body went rigid. Stay here, he said. Dante. But he was already gone, cutting through the crowd toward the commotion. Olivia watched him intercept one of the men, grabbing his arm, saying something low and dangerous. The man swung at him. Dante dodged easily and slammed him against the wall hard enough to rattle picture frames. The room erupted. People screamed. Someone threw a punch. Chaos exploded across the living room like a grenade had gone off. Olivia tried to push through the crowd, but bodies pressed in from all sides, shoving and yelling. She lost sight of Dante. Panic spiked through her chest. She shoved harder, fighting her way toward where she'd last seen him. Someone's elbow caught her ribs. Another person stepped on her foot. The noise was deafening. Then a hand grabbed her wrist and yanked her sideways. Luca. He pulled her out of the chaos and into a quieter hallway, his expression serious for once. You okay? He asked. Where's Dante? Handling it, he's fine. You need to stay here. Luca's grip tightened on her wrist. Trust me, when Dante gets like this, you don't want to be anywhere near him. Olivia jerked her arm free. You don't know what I want. Maybe not, but I know what he's capable of. Luca's expression darkened, and you're about to see it firsthand. Before Olivia could respond, Dante appeared in the hallway. Blood smeared across his knuckles. His shirt was torn. His eyes were wild. Not with fear, but with something darker. Rage, barely controlled. He looked at Luca first, then at Olivia. "We're leaving," he said. "Dante, now." His tone left no room for argument. Olivia nodded, her heart pounding. Dante grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the front entrance, ignoring everyone who tried to stop him. Maria called his name. His father shouted something. Luca laughed. Dante didn't slow down. They burst through the front doors into freezing night air. Snow fell harder now, covering the steps in white. The town car waited at the bottom, engine running. Dante yanked open the door and practically shoved Olivia inside before climbing in after her. He slammed the door shut and the driver pulled away immediately, tires crunching over snow. Silence filled the car. Olivia stared at Dante. He stared straight ahead, breathing hard, jaw locked tight. Blood still dripped from his knuckles onto the leather seat. "What the hell was that?" Olivia asked. "Nothing." "That wasn't nothing." "Drop it, Olivia." "No." She grabbed his hand, forcing him to look at her. "What happened in there?" Dante's eyes were black in the dim light. "Someone said something they shouldn't have." "About what?" "You." Olivia's breath caught. "What did they say?" "It doesn't matter." "Dante." "They called you a whore," he said flatly. "Said you were using me, that you were just another gold digger looking for a payout." Olivia's stomach turned. "And you hit them." "I did more than that." "Jesus Christ." "I'd do it again." The certainty in his voice sent chills down her spine. Olivia looked at his bloodied knuckles, at the torn shirt, at the man sitting beside her who'd just beaten someone for insulting her. This was who Dante Ricci really was. Not the cold businessman, not the calculated heir, but something rawer, darker, more dangerous than she'd ever let herself acknowledge. "You can't keep doing this," she said quietly. "Doing what?" "Losing control every time someone looks at me wrong, fighting people, acting like—" She stopped, swallowing hard. "Like I'm yours." Dante's gaze snapped to hers, sharp and intense. "Aren't you?" he asked. The question hit like a punch. Olivia opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. "I don't know," she whispered. "Then figure it out." Dante leaned closer, his voice dropping to something raw and desperate. "Because I can't keep pretending this is casual, that you're just my assistant, that I don't care if you walk away tomorrow. Dante, I'm in too deep, Olivia, and I need to know if you are too." Her heart slammed against her ribs. The car sped through snowy streets, city lights blurring past the windows. Everything felt too fast, too intense, too real. "Yes," Olivia said finally, "I'm in too deep." Dante kissed her before she could say anything else. Hard and possessive and completely overwhelming. Olivia kissed him back just as fiercely, her hands fisting in his torn shirt, pulling him closer. The car stopped. They broke apart, breathing hard. Olivia looked out the window and realized they weren't at her apartment. They were at Dante's penthouse. "Come upstairs," Dante said. It wasn't a question. Olivia should have said no. Should have gone home. Should have put distance between them before this thing between them burned them both alive. Instead, she nodded. They rode the elevator in silence, tension crackling like electricity. The doors opened directly into Dante's penthouse, all glass and steel and expensive minimalism. Olivia had been here 1,000 times for work, but tonight it felt different. Dante led her inside, his hand never leaving hers. They stood in the middle of the living room, snow falling outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city glowing beneath them. "I need to know something," Dante said. "What?" "If this ends badly, if I ruin you, if everything falls apart." He paused, his jaw working. "Will you regret tonight?" Olivia looked at him, really looked at him, at the blood on his knuckles, the exhaustion in his eyes, the vulnerability he was trying so hard to hide. "No," she said. "I won't." Something in Dante's expression cracked. He pulled her close and kissed her again, slower this time, deeper, like he was trying to memorize the feel of her. When he finally pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "Then stay," he whispered, just for tonight. Stay. Olivia knew this was the point of no return, knew that if she stayed, everything between them would change permanently. There would be no going back to boss and assistant, no pretending this was still fake. She stayed anyway. Dante's hands framed her face, thumbs brushing her cheekbones. I don't know how to be gentle, he admitted. I'm not asking you to be. I'm going to hurt you eventually. It's what I do. Then hurt me. Olivia's voice came out steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. But don't lie to me. Don't pretend this is something it's not. It's real, Dante said. Whatever the hell this is, it's real. Then that's enough. He kissed her again, and this time neither of them pulled away. Dante backed her toward the bedroom, hands everywhere, mouths desperate. They left a trail of discarded clothes, his torn shirt, her heels, his belt. By the time they reached the bed, Olivia was shaking, not from cold, from want, from fear, from the overwhelming certainty that after tonight, nothing would ever be the same. Dante lowered her onto the bed, his body covering hers. His hands traced every curve like he was mapping territory. Olivia arched into him, her breath coming in short gasps. Tell me to stop, Dante murmured against her throat. No. Olivia. I said no. He captured her mouth again, swallowing whatever she was about to say next. The kiss turned molten, all-consuming. Olivia's hands slid up his back, nails digging into skin, pulling him impossibly closer. They crossed the line together. No more pretending, no more fake dating, just two people who'd been circling each other for 4 years finally colliding with enough force to leave marks. Hours later, Olivia lay tangled in Dante's sheets, his arm heavy across her waist, his breathing slow and even against her shoulder. Snow still fell outside. The city still glowed. But inside that bedroom, the world had shrunk to just the two of them. Olivia stared at the ceiling, her mind racing. What the hell had they just done? Dante stirred beside her, his arm tightening reflexively. Even in sleep, he held on like he was afraid she'd disappear. Olivia's chest ached. This was supposed to be simple. One night, one favor, 1 week of freedom in exchange for playing a role. Instead, she'd fallen for the most dangerous man she'd ever met. And now there was no taking it back. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Olivia reached for it carefully, trying not to wake Dante. A text lit up the screen. Unknown number. She opened it. You made a mistake tonight. He's not who you think he is. Walk away before it's too late. Olivia's blood turned to ice. She stared at the message, her heart pounding. Who the hell sent this? Maria? Luca? Someone else from the party? Another text came through. Ask him about Isabella. Ask him what he did to the last woman who got too close. Olivia's hands trembled. She glanced at Dante, still sleeping peacefully beside her, completely unaware. Who was Isabella? And what the hell had Dante done? Olivia didn't sleep. She lay there for hours, Dante's arm heavy across her waist, his breathing slow and steady against her neck. The text messages burned in her mind like acid. Ask him about Isabella. Ask him what he did to the last woman who got too close. Outside, snow had stopped falling. The city glowed cold and distant through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Dawn was still hours away, but Olivia felt every single minute crawling past like broken glass. Who the hell was Isabella? And why did the question make her stomach twist with dread? She should wake Dante, should ask him directly. But something stopped her. Fear, maybe, or the certainty that once she asked, everything between them would shatter. Instead, she carefully extracted herself from his grip, sliding out of bed without waking him. Her dress lay crumpled on the floor near the doorway. She grabbed it, slipped it on, and walked barefoot into the living room. The penthouse felt massive and empty in the darkness. Olivia found her phone on the coffee table where she'd dropped it earlier. 3 more messages waited. You're making the same mistake she did. He destroys everything he touches. Leave while you still can. Olivia's hands shook. She typed back quickly. Who is this? No response. She tried again. Who is Isabella? Nothing. Frustration clawed at her throat. Olivia paced the length of the living room, her mind racing. This had to be someone from the party. Maria, probably, trying to scare her off, trying to protect the family's precious reputation. But what if it wasn't? What if there really was something Dante hadn't told her? Something dark enough that strangers were sending anonymous warnings at 4 in the morning? You're awake. Olivia spun around. Dante stood in the bedroom doorway wearing only black boxer briefs, his hair messy, eyes still half closed with sleep. Even exhausted and rumpled, he looked dangerous. Couldn't sleep, Olivia said. Dante moved closer, concern flickering across his face. What's wrong? Nothing, just thinking. About what? About who Isabella is. About what you did to her. About whether I just made the biggest mistake of my life. Tonight, Olivia said instead. The party. Everything that happened. Dante's expression softened. He reached for her, pulling her close. Olivia let him, even though her body felt tense and wrong. We'll figure it out, he murmured against her hair. Whatever happens with my family, with work, with this, he gestured between them. We'll figure it out. Olivia wanted to believe him, wanted to sink into his warmth and forget the text messages existed, but she couldn't. Dante, she said quietly, can I ask you something? Anything. Who's Isabella? Dante went completely still. His arms dropped away from her like she'd burned him. When Olivia looked up, his face had transformed, all the warmth gone, replaced by something cold and guarded. Where did you hear that name? His voice came out flat, dangerous. Does it matter? Yes? Olivia's pulse hammered. I got a text. Anonymous. They told me to ask you about her. Dante's jaw tightened. He stepped back, putting distance between them. Show me. Olivia hesitated, then handed him her phone. Dante read the messages, his expression growing darker with each one. When he finished, he looked up at her with eyes like ice. This is Maria, he said. How do you know? Because she's the only one who would use Isabella against me. Who is she, Dante? Silence stretched between them, sharp and brittle. Dante handed the phone back and walked to the windows, staring out at the city below. His shoulders were rigid, hands clenched at his sides. She was someone I knew, he said finally. A long time ago. That's not an answer. It's all you're getting. Anger flared hot in Olivia's chest. Are you serious right now? Someone sends me threatening messages about a woman you apparently destroyed, and you think you can just shut me out? I'm not shutting you out. Then tell me the truth. Dante turned to face her, his expression hard. You want the truth? Fine. Isabella was my fiancée. 5 years ago. We were engaged, planning a wedding, building a life together. He paused, his voice turning bitter. And then she left. Olivia's stomach dropped. Why? Because she couldn't handle what I am, who I am, the violence, the power, the family. Dante's laugh was sharp and humorless. She said I was too dangerous, that being with me would destroy her, so she walked away. And what did you do? Nothing. Dante, I did nothing, Olivia. I let her go. Didn't fight it. Didn't chase her. Just let her disappear. His eyes were dark, haunted. But my family didn't. They made sure she regretted leaving, made her life hell until she moved across the country and changed her name. Horror crawled up Olivia's spine. You knew they were doing that? I found out after. And you didn't stop them? Dante's silence was answer enough. Olivia took a step back, her chest tight. Jesus Christ. I was a different person then. Were you? Or are you just better at hiding it now? Dante flinched like she'd slapped him. That's not fair. Isn't it? Olivia's voice cracked. You stood there tonight and beat someone bloody for insulting me. You threatened to throw your cousin off a balcony for flirting. You're possessive and violent, and... She stopped, swallowing hard. How do I know I'm not making the same mistake she did? Because you're not her. That's not good enough. What do you want me to say, Olivia? That I'm safe? That I won't hurt you? Dante moved closer, his voice rough. I can't promise that. I told you from the beginning. I ruin things. It's what I do. Then why the hell am I still here? Because you're stubborn and reckless, and apparently just as broken as I am. The words hit like a punch. Olivia stared at him, her throat burning with unshed tears. Part of her wanted to scream, part of her wanted to leave, But a bigger part, the part that had stayed tonight, that had crossed every line with him, knew he was right. She was broken too. I need air, Olivia said. It's 4 in the morning. I don't care. She grabbed her heels and headed for the door. Dante caught her wrist. Don't go, he said quietly. I'm not running. I just need to think. Olivia, let go, Dante. He did, reluctantly. Olivia pulled on her heels and walked out without looking back. The elevator ride down felt endless. By the time Olivia reached the street, dawn was starting to break. Pale gray light creeping across the sky, turning snow blue. The cold hit her immediately, cutting through her thin dress like knives. She started walking with no destination in mind, just moving, breathing, trying to process what the hell had just happened. Dante had been engaged to a woman he'd let his family destroy, and now Olivia was falling for him anyway. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, expecting another anonymous threat. It was Dante. Come back, please. Olivia stopped walking. Her finger hovered over the screen. She should go home, should put distance between them before this thing consumed her completely. Instead, she turned around and headed back. The doorman recognized her and waved her through without question. Olivia rode the elevator back up, her heart pounding harder with each floor. By the time the doors opened, she was shaking, from cold, from fear, from everything. Dante stood waiting in the entryway. He'd put on pants and a t-shirt. His eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. I thought you left, he said. I came back. Why? Olivia stepped inside, the elevator doors closing behind her. Because I'm apparently an idiot. Something flickered across Dante's face. Relief, maybe, or gratitude. He moved toward her, then stopped like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to touch her anymore. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For what? For not telling you about Isabella. For thinking I could keep that buried. He exhaled slowly. For being exactly what Maria warned you about. Olivia's chest ached. You're not her, Dante. No, I'm worse. At least Maria's honest about what she is. Stop. It's true. No, it's not. Olivia closed the distance between them, her hands finding his face. You're violent and possessive and completely terrifying. But you're also loyal and protective and the only person who's ever looked at me like I matter. Her voice broke. So yeah, maybe I'm making a mistake. Maybe this ends badly, but I'd rather take that risk than spend the rest of my life wondering what could have happened if I'd been brave enough to stay. Dante's eyes searched hers, desperate and uncertain. You don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. Olivia. She kissed him before he could argue. Dante made a broken sound against her mouth and pulled her close, his hands fisting in her dress like he was afraid she'd vanish. They stumbled backward into the penthouse, mouths desperate, hands everywhere. Olivia's dress hit the floor again. Dante's shirt followed. They crashed onto the couch, tangled together, trying to erase the distance that had opened between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante pressed his forehead against hers. I don't deserve you, he whispered. Probably not. But I'm not letting you go. Good. They stayed like that until the sun fully rose, washing the city in cold winter light. Eventually, exhaustion won. They moved back to the bedroom and collapsed together, wrapped around each other like neither could breathe without the contact. Olivia fell asleep believing they'd survived the worst of it. She was wrong. She woke hours later to sunlight streaming through the windows and Dante's side of the bed empty. Voices drifted from somewhere in the penthouse, low and tense. Olivia sat up, her stomach immediately knotting. She found her dress, pulled it on, and walked barefoot toward the noise. Dante stood in the living room with his back to her, phone pressed to his ear. His entire body was rigid. I don't give a damn what the board thinks, he said, voice cold. Handle it. He hung up and turned. When he saw Olivia, his expression shifted, guilt flashing across his face before he could hide it. What's wrong? Olivia asked. Work. Nothing important. Dante, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. The board called an emergency meeting. Someone leaked photos from the party last night. Me and Luca. The fight. My bloody knuckles. They're questioning my stability again. Olivia's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means I need to do damage control. Fast. How? Dante hesitated. They want me to make a public statement, prove I'm in control. That last night was an isolated incident. Okay, so do it. It's not that simple. Dante moved closer, his eyes dark with something Olivia couldn't read. They want proof I'm stable, grounded, that I have something keeping me human. Understanding hit like ice water. They want you to use me. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Dante's jaw worked. They want us to go public. Make the relationship official. Use it to prove I'm not spiraling. Olivia laughed, sharp and bitter. So we're back to fake dating. No, this is different. How? You're still using me to save your reputation. I'm trying to protect what we have, Dante said, frustration bleeding into his voice. If the board removes me, my father takes over. And he won't stop until he's destroyed everything between us. Why would he do that? Because he thinks you're a distraction, a weakness, something that makes me vulnerable. Dante stepped closer, his hands reaching for hers. And he's right. You do make me vulnerable. But I don't care. I'd burn the whole empire down if it meant keeping you. Olivia's throat tightened. You can't mean that. I do. Dante, you've spent your entire life building this. You can't just watch me. The certainty in his voice terrified her. Olivia pulled her hands free, stepping back. This is insane. We barely know what this is between us. We can't. Her phone rang, cutting her off. Unknown number. Olivia's stomach twisted. She answered, putting it on speaker. Hello? Olivia Hale. A woman's voice, unfamiliar, cold. Who is this? Someone who knows what Dante Ricci really is. Someone who tried to warn you before it was too late. Olivia's blood turned to ice. Isabella? Silence. Then, he's going to ruin you. Just like he ruined me. Just like he ruins everyone stupid enough to believe his lies. I don't... Ask him about the contract, Olivia. Ask him about the clause he had his lawyers draft the day after he hired you. Olivia's gaze snapped to Dante. His face had gone completely pale. What contract? Olivia asked. The one that prevents you from ever working in this city again if you leave him. The one that ensures you stay trapped under his control forever. Isabella's laugh was bitter. He didn't tell you about that, did he? The phone slipped from Olivia's hand, clattering against the floor. She stared at Dante, her entire world tilting sideways. Tell me she's lying, Olivia whispered. Dante's silence was deafening. Dante. Her voice broke. Tell me she's lying. It's not what it sounds like. Then what is it? A precaution. Standard for executive assistants with access to sensitive information. Bullshit. Olivia's voice came out raw. I've seen those contracts. This isn't standard. This is a cage. I was going to remove it. When? I don't know. Eventually. Eventually? Olivia laughed, sharp and hysterical. You've had 4 years, Dante. 4 years to tell me I couldn't leave without destroying my entire career. 4 years to mention that you own me. I don't own you. Don't you? Olivia grabbed her phone from the floor, her hands shaking. That's what this is, isn't it? Why you never worried about me quitting. Why you pushed me harder than anyone else. Because you knew I couldn't leave. That's not... And last night? Olivia's voice cracked. Was that real? Or just another way to keep me trapped? Dante looked like she'd gutted him. How can you even ask that? Because I don't know what's real anymore, Olivia screamed. You lied to me for 4 years. You trapped me. And now you're asking me to go public with a relationship I'm not even sure exists outside of whatever sick game you're playing. It's not a game. Then prove it. Show me the contract. Let me see exactly what you did to me. Dante's jaw locked. Olivia, show me. He turned and walked to his office. Olivia followed, her heart slamming against her ribs. Dante pulled a file from his desk drawer and handed it to her without meeting her eyes. Olivia opened it with trembling hands. The contract was worse than she'd imagined. Non-compete clauses that extended across every major corporation in New York. Confidentiality agreements so airtight she couldn't even mention Dante's name without legal repercussions. Financial penalties that would bankrupt her if she violated any terms. And buried in the fine print, a clause stating that termination of employment required Dante's explicit written consent. She couldn't quit. She couldn't leave. She couldn't do anything without his permission. The file slipped from her hands. You did this to me, she whispered. I was protecting the company. You were protecting yourself. Olivia's vision blurred with tears. You made sure I couldn't leave you, that I'd always be there, always within reach, always under your control. That's not why. Then why, Dante? Why trap me like this? He didn't answer, just stood there looking broken and desperate and guilty as hell. Understanding crashed over Olivia like a wave. Oh my God, she breathed. You've wanted this the whole time, not me. Just someone you could control. Someone who couldn't walk away no matter how badly you treated them. No. Isabella left you, so you made sure the next woman couldn't. That's not true. Isn't it? Olivia's voice shook. You created a cage and convinced yourself it was protection. You trapped me and called it business. And now you're acting like last night meant something when really it was just you claiming property you already owned. Stop! Dante's voice came out strangled. You're not property. You're… What? Your girlfriend? Your assistant? Your prisoner? Olivia wiped at her eyes furiously. I don't even know anymore. Dante reached for her. Olivia stepped back. Don't touch me. Olivia, please. I need to leave. You can't. The words hung between them like a death sentence. Olivia stared at him. Excuse me? The contract. Dante's voice was barely a whisper. If you leave now, the legal team will what? Destroy me? Sue me into oblivion? Ruin my life? Olivia laughed, broken and bitter. Go ahead. At least I'll be free. She turned and walked toward the bedroom to grab her things. Dante followed. Where are you going? Anywhere you're not. We need to talk about this. There's nothing left to talk about. I love you. Olivia froze. Slowly she turned to face him. Dante stood in the doorway, his face pale, his eyes desperate. What did you say? I love you, Dante repeated, his voice breaking. I know I ruined everything. I know I lied and trapped you and destroyed any chance we had. But I love you and I'm begging you not to leave. Olivia's chest felt like it was caving in. You don't love me. You love the idea of owning something you can't lose. That's not true. Then let me go, right now. Tear up the contract and let me walk away. Dante stared at her, his breathing ragged. I can't, he whispered. And there it was. The truth neither of them wanted to face. Dante Ricci couldn't let her go. Not because he loved her, but because losing control terrified him more than anything else in the world. Olivia grabbed her things, shoes, phone, whatever else she could find. Dante didn't try to stop her, just stood there watching her with hollow eyes. When she reached the front door, she paused. For what it's worth, Olivia said quietly, not looking back. Last night was real for me. All of it. And that's what makes this hurt so much. She left before he could respond. The elevator ride down felt like falling. Olivia made it to the lobby before the tears came, hot and endless. She stumbled out onto the street, morning sunlight too bright, too normal for the way her entire world had just imploded. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Isabella. I'm sorry, I know it hurts, but you're free now. Don't waste it. Olivia stared at the message until her vision blurred. Free. She didn't feel free. She felt destroyed, gutted. Like Dante had reached inside her chest and torn everything out. But Isabella was right about one thing. She couldn't go back. Not after this. Not knowing what Dante had done, what he was still willing to do to keep her. Olivia flagged down a cab and gave her address. As the car pulled away, she looked back at Dante's building one last time. He stood in the penthouse window watching her leave. Even from this distance, she could see the devastation on his face. Part of her wanted to go back, to believe his confession, to find a way through the lies and manipulation and broken trust. But the bigger part, the part that had survived 4 years under his control without even knowing it, understood something Isabella had learned the hard way. Loving Dante Ricci meant losing yourself, and Olivia had already lost too much. The cab turned the corner. Dante's building disappeared from view. Olivia closed her eyes and let herself break. 3 days passed in a blur of silence. Olivia stayed in her apartment, ignoring calls from Dante, from Maria, from numbers she didn't recognize. She contacted a lawyer about the contract. The response was grim. Fighting it would cost more than she had and take years to resolve. Dante owned her, legally, completely, unless he chose to let her go. On the fourth day, someone knocked on her door. Olivia opened it to find Luca standing there, hands in his pockets, expression unusually serious. "We need to talk," he said. "I'm not interested. It's about Dante. I'm especially not interested in that. He's gone." Olivia's stomach dropped. "What?" "Disappeared 3 days ago, right after you left." Luca stepped closer, his voice low. "His father called an emergency board meeting, voted him out, stripped his title, took everything." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because before he disappeared, Dante did something incredibly stupid." Luca pulled an envelope from his jacket and handed it to her. "He tore up your contract, gave you a severance package that'll keep you comfortable for years, and he left this." Olivia's hands shook as she opened the envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper, Dante's handwriting. "You were right. I did love controlling you, but somewhere along the way, I started loving you more. I'm sorry I couldn't be better. I'm sorry I destroyed the only real thing I've ever had. But you're free now, completely, and I hope that's enough. D." Olivia read it 3 times, then she looked at Luca. "Where is he?" "I don't know. No one does. Your family disowned him. He's out. Completely." Horror crawled up Olivia's spine. "He gave up everything." "For you?" "Yeah." Luca's expression was unreadable. "So the question is, what are you going to do about it?" Olivia stared at the letter in her hands, Dante's words burning into her brain. He'd destroyed himself to set her free, and now she had to decide whether that changed anything at all. Olivia stood frozen in her doorway, Dante's letter crumpled in her fist, staring at Luca like he'd just told her the world had ended. "He gave up everything," she repeated, her voice hollow. "Yeah." Luca leaned against the doorframe, watching her carefully. His title, his position, his family, all of it, gone. "Why would he do that?" "You know why." Olivia's chest tightened. She looked down at the letter again, Dante's handwriting blurring through unshed tears. "You're free now, completely. He'd destroyed himself to save her, and she had no idea what the hell to do with that." "Where would he go?" Olivia asked quietly. Luca shrugged. "Honestly, I don't know. Dante doesn't have friends, doesn't have places he disappears to. His entire life was the company. So he's just gone?" "Looks like it." Olivia's mind raced. 4 days ago, Dante had been Manhattan's most feared businessman. Untouchable, powerful. Now he was nothing, a ghost, and it was her fault. No, it was his fault for trapping her in the first place. Wasn't it? "Why are you here, Luca?" Olivia asked, exhaustion bleeding into her voice. "Because someone needs to clean up this mess. And apparently that someone is me." Luca straightened, his expression turning serious. "Dante's father is consolidating power, taking over every contract, every deal, every relationship Dante built, and he's doing it ruthlessly. So some of us don't want that. Some of us think Dante, for all his flaws, was better than the alternative. Then find him. Bring him back." "I can't." "But you can." Olivia laughed bitterly. "You think he wants to see me? After everything? I think you're the only person he'd come back for. That's insane." "Is it?" Luca stepped closer, his voice dropping. "Dante gave up an empire for you, Olivia. You think he did that because he doesn't care? He's drowning right now, and you're the only lifeline he's got." Olivia's throat burned. "I don't know where he is." "But you know how to find him." She did. God help her, she did. There was one place Dante had mentioned once, years ago, during a late-night conversation when he'd been too exhausted to maintain his walls. A cabin upstate, his grandfather's old hunting lodge. Dante had said it was the only place he'd ever felt safe as a kid. If he was anywhere, he'd be there. "I need to think," Olivia said. Luca nodded. "Don't think too long. His father's planning something, and when it happens, there won't be anything left to save." He left without another word. Olivia closed the door and leaned against it, her legs suddenly weak. Dante's letter felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She read it again, slower this time, letting each word sink in. "I started loving you more." The confession hit harder than it should have, because despite everything, the lies, the manipulation, the contract that had trapped her for 4 years. Part of Olivia believed him. She'd seen the way he looked at her on that balcony, the desperation in his kiss, the vulnerability he'd tried so hard to hide. That hadn't been control. That had been something real. But was it enough? Olivia spent the rest of the day wrestling with the question. By nightfall, she'd made a decision she knew was probably stupid and definitely reckless. She was going to find Dante, not because she forgave him, not because she wanted him back, but because she needed to look him in the eye one last time and decide whether the man who'd destroyed himself for her was worth saving. The drive upstate took 3 hours through snow-covered roads and dense forest. Olivia's hands gripped the steering wheel so tight her knuckles went white. She'd rented a car, thrown some clothes in a bag, and left without telling anyone where she was going. By the time she found the turnoff to the cabin, it was past midnight. The dirt road was barely visible beneath fresh snow. Olivia's headlights cut through darkness, illuminating trees that pressed in from all sides. Finally, the cabin appeared, a dark silhouette against darker woods. No lights, no smoke from the chimney. It looked abandoned. Olivia parked and killed the engine. Silence crashed down around her, broken only by wind rattling through bare branches. She grabbed a flashlight from the glove compartment and stepped out into freezing air. The cold bit through her coat immediately. Olivia's breath fogged as she walked toward the cabin, snow crunching beneath her boots. The front door was unlocked. Inside, everything was dark. "Dante?" Olivia's voice sounded too loud in the silence. No response. She swept the flashlight across the space. Old furniture covered in dust, a stone fireplace full of cold ash, windows black with night. The cabin felt empty, dead. Maybe Luca was wrong. Maybe Dante wasn't here at all. Then Olivia heard it, a sound from somewhere deeper in the cabin. Movement. Her heart slammed against her ribs. "Dante?" "Leave." The voice came from the shadows near the back wall. Rough, broken, barely recognizable. Olivia moved toward it, her flashlight beam sweeping across the room until it landed on him. Dante sat slumped against the wall, knees drawn up, head tilted back. He looked like hell. Unshaven, hair wild, clothes wrinkled and stained. A bottle of whiskey sat half empty beside him, but it was his eyes that stopped Olivia cold. They were hollow, completely empty. "Jesus Christ," she breathed. "I said leave." Dante didn't look at her, didn't move. "No." "Olivia, what the hell are you doing out here?" "Dying slowly. Go away." Olivia set the flashlight on a nearby table, flooding the room with harsh white light. Dante flinched away from it like it burned. "You look like shit," Olivia said. "Thanks. When was the last time you ate?" "Don't remember. Don't care." Olivia crouched down in front of him, forcing him to meet her eyes. "Your cousin came to see me, told me what you did. Good for him. You gave up everything." "Had to." "Why?" Finally, Dante looked at her. The devastation in his eyes made her chest ache. "Because you were right," he said quietly. "I trapped you, controlled you, treated you like property instead of a person." His voice cracked, "And I couldn't live with that anymore." "So you destroyed yourself instead?" Seemed like the right move at the time. Olivia wanted to scream, wanted to shake him, wanted to do anything except feel this overwhelming urge to wrap her arms around him and never let go. "You're an idiot," she said instead. "I know. A complete self-destructive idiot. Also aware. And I hate you for what you did to me." Dante's eyes closed. "I know. But I don't want you to die out here alone." His eyes opened. Something flickered in them. Surprise, maybe, or hope. "Why not?" "Because despite everything, I still—" Olivia stopped, swallowing hard. "I still care about you, and I need to know if what we had was real or just another one of your games." "It was real." Dante's voice came out raw. "All of it. From the moment I kissed you on that balcony, maybe even before. I don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the way you stopped being my assistant and became the only thing I actually gave a damn about." Olivia's throat burned. "Then why trap me? Why not just let me choose?" "Because I was terrified you'd choose to leave, and I couldn't handle that, so I made sure you couldn't." Dante laughed bitterly. "Turns out, you left anyway, and I lost everything that mattered. Silence fell between them, heavy and suffocating. Olivia reached out and took the whiskey bottle from his hand. You can't stay out here. Watch me. Your father's taking over, destroying everything you built. Good. Let him. I don't care anymore. Liar. Dante's jaw tightened. What do you want from me, Olivia? You want me to go back and fight, reclaim what I lost, become the same ruthless bastard who hurt you in the first place? No, I want you to fight for something that actually matters. Like what? Like us. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Dante stared at her, his breathing uneven. There is no us. I destroyed that. Maybe. Or maybe we build something new, something that isn't built on lies and control. Olivia moved closer, her hands finding his face. But you have to want it, Dante. You have to want to be better. I don't know if I can be. Then figure it out. Because I'm not doing this alone. Dante's hands came up to cover hers, pressing them harder against his skin. You should hate me. I do. But I also love you. And I'm starting to think those two things aren't mutually exclusive. Something broke in Dante's expression. He pulled Olivia close, burying his face in her neck. His shoulders shook. I'm sorry, he whispered, for everything. I'm so goddamn sorry. Olivia held him while he fell apart, her own tears falling silent and hot. They sat like that for a long time, two broken people clinging to each other in the darkness, trying to figure out if love was enough to rebuild what had been destroyed. Eventually, Dante pulled back, wiping at his face roughly. Even if I wanted to go back, I can't. My father made sure of that. What did he do? Took my voting shares, removed me from the board, froze my assets. Dante's laugh was bitter. I'm basically dead to the family, and without them, I'm nothing. That's not true, isn't it? My entire life was that company. Without it, I don't even know who I am. Olivia grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. Then maybe it's time to figure that out, to become someone who isn't defined by power or control or a last name. You make it sound simple. It's not, but nothing worth having ever is. Dante stared at her for a long moment. Then he kissed her, soft and desperate and full of everything he couldn't say out loud. Olivia kissed him back just as fiercely, tasting whiskey and salt and something that felt dangerously close to hope. When they finally broke apart, Dante rested his forehead against hers. If I do this, he said quietly, if I try to fight my way back, it's going to get ugly. My father won't go down easy. I know. He'll come after you, use you against me. Let him try. Dante's eyes darkened. I'm serious, Olivia. He's dangerous. More dangerous than you realize. And you're not? I'm trying not to be. Then prove it. Stop hiding out here and actually fight for something. Dante pulled back, his expression hardening with something Olivia recognized. Determination. The same cold calculation he used to dismantle competitors. You're right, he said finally. Running doesn't solve anything. It just gives him more time to destroy what's left. So what are we going to do? We? Dante raised an eyebrow. You think I drove 3 hours through a snowstorm to leave you out here alone? We're in this together now. Something shifted in Dante's face. Surprise melting into something warmer. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Dante stood, pulling Olivia up with him. Then we need to move fast. My father's planning something. I don't know what yet, but his phone rang, cutting him off. Dante pulled it from his pocket and stared at the screen. Luca, he said, then answered. Yeah? Olivia couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she watched Dante's expression turn darker with each passing second. When? Dante asked sharply. A pause. How bad? Another pause. Dante's jaw locked. I'm on my way. He hung up and looked at Olivia with eyes like ice. What happened? She asked. My father just called a press conference. He's announcing a merger with the Castellano family. Olivia's stomach dropped. Even she knew that name. The Castellanos were old money, powerful, ruthless, and deeply connected to organized crime. Why would he do that? Because he knows I'd never approve it. The Castellanos are everything I've spent years trying to distance the company from. Dante's hands clenched into fists. He's doing this to prove I'm gone, that he's in control now. Can he actually pull it off? Without my shares? Yeah, he's got the votes. Dante moved toward the door. Unless I stop him. How? You said he froze everything. He did, but there's one thing he can't touch. Dante grabbed a coat from a hook near the door. My grandfather left me a trust, separate from the company. It's not much, but it's enough to buy back some shares, enough to challenge him. From who? Maria. Olivia blinked. Your aunt? The one who hates you? She doesn't hate me. She hates what the family's become. And she knows this merger will destroy everything my grandfather built. Dante looked at Olivia. If I can convince her to sell me her shares, I can block the vote. That's a big if. I know, but it's the only shot I've got. Olivia grabbed her coat. Then let's go. They drove through the night, heading back toward the city. Dante made calls from the passenger seat, to Luca, to lawyers, to people Olivia didn't recognize. His voice was sharp, commanding, all traces of the broken man from the cabin gone. This was the Dante Ricci she'd worked for. Cold, calculating, ruthless. And honestly, it was terrifying how attractive it was. By the time they reached Manhattan, dawn was breaking over the skyline. Dante directed Olivia to Maria's brownstone in the Upper East Side. They parked and walked to the front door together, snow crunching beneath their feet. Dante knocked. Hard. Maria answered wearing a silk robe and an expression of pure annoyance. Jesus Christ, Dante, it's 6 a.m. I need your shares, Maria blinked, then she laughed. You've got to be kidding. Do I look like I'm kidding? You look like you've been sleeping in the woods. Maria's gaze shifted to Olivia. And you brought your assistant. How domestic. Girlfriend, Dante corrected. And I'm serious, Maria. I need those shares, today. Why would I give them to you? Your father's offering triple what they're worth. Because you know this merger is wrong. The Castellanos will gut the company. Everything grandfather built will be gone within a year. Maria's expression hardened. That's not my problem anymore. Yes, it is. You're still family. Family? Maria's laugh was sharp. Your father disowned you, Dante. You're not family anymore. You're nobody. The words hit like a slap, but Dante didn't flinch. You're right, he said quietly. I'm nobody. I've got no title, no position, no power, but I've still got something your brother will never have. What's that? Integrity. Maria stared at him for a long moment. Then she looked at Olivia. Is he serious right now? Unfortunately, yes, Olivia said. And you believe him? After everything? Olivia hesitated. Then, I'm trying to. Maria studied them both, her expression unreadable. Finally, she sighed. Come inside, both of you. If I'm going to make a decision this stupid, I at least need coffee first. They followed her into a pristine living room that screamed old money. Maria disappeared into the kitchen, leaving Dante and Olivia standing awkwardly near the fireplace. She's going to say no, Olivia whispered. Probably. So what's the backup plan? There isn't one. Dante, this is it, Olivia. If Maria doesn't sell, my father wins. The company becomes everything I fought against, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. Olivia grabbed his hand, threading their fingers together. Then we make her say yes. Maria returned with 3 cups of coffee. She handed them out, then settled into an armchair with the air of someone about to deliver a verdict. Here's my problem, she said. Your father is offering me a fortune, enough to retire comfortably and never think about this family again. She sipped her coffee. Why would I give that up to help you? Because you loved my grandfather, Dante said, and you know he'd be ashamed of what's happening. Maybe. Or maybe he'd be proud that his son is finally taking control. You don't believe that. Maria's smile was thin. You're right. I don't. Your father is a snake, always has been, but at least he's predictable. You? She gestured at him. You're chaos, Dante. You always have been, and chaos is bad for business. I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to do the right thing. The right thing doesn't pay my bills. Olivia stepped forward before she could stop herself. What if we could prove he's changed? Maria's eyebrow arched. How? Give him one chance. Let him stop this merger. If he succeeds and doesn't revert back to the same ruthless bastard he was before, you keep the shares, you maintain your position. But if he fails, or if he becomes everything you're afraid of, you can sell to his father for whatever price you want. Maria looked at Olivia like she'd grown a second head. That's the dumbest negotiation I've ever heard. Maybe, but it's honest. Silence stretched between them. Maria's gaze flicked to Dante, then back to Olivia. You really believe in him, Maria said quietly. I'm trying to. Why? After everything he's done to you? Olivia's throat tightened. Because people deserve second chances, even the ones who don't think they do. Maria stared at her for a long, uncomfortable moment. Then she stood and walked to a desk in the corner. She pulled out a folder and handed it to Dante. My shares, she said. All of them. But there are conditions. Dante opened the folder, his eyes scanning the documents inside. What conditions? You stop this merger, you clean up the board, and you prove to me, to all of us, that you're not your father's son. Maria's expression hardened. But if you fail, if you so much as hint at becoming the same monster you were before, I'll personally make sure you never get another chance to destroy this family. Dante looked at the papers, then at Maria. Deal. They shook hands. Maria's grip was firm, her eyes sharp. Don't make me regret this, she said. I won't. Maria's gaze shifted to Olivia. Take care of him. He's going to need it. Olivia nodded, her throat too tight to speak. They left Maria's brownstone with the signed documents, the city waking up around them. Dante stopped on the sidewalk, staring at the papers like they might disappear. We did it, Olivia said. We got the shares. That's not the same as winning. What's next? Dante's jaw tightened. The press conference is in 3 hours. I need to be there. Need to challenge the merger publicly before the vote happens. And if your father refuses to listen, then I force the issue, file injunctions, drag this through courts, make it ugly enough that the Castellanos walk away. That'll destroy your relationship with him. That relationship was already dead. Dante looked at Olivia, his eyes hard. He chose power over me. Now I'm choosing to fight back. They headed to Dante's penthouse to regroup. Inside, Dante showered and changed while Olivia made calls to lawyers, setting up the legal framework for what was about to happen. By the time Dante emerged, clean-shaven, suit-pressed, looking every inch the ruthless businessman he'd been before, Olivia felt like she was watching a transformation in real time. You ready for this? She asked. No, but I'm doing it anyway. They arrived at the hotel where the press conference was being held with 20 minutes to spare. The lobby was already packed with reporters, photographers, and what looked like half of Manhattan's business elite. Dante's father stood near the front, shaking hands and smiling like he'd already won. Then he saw Dante. The smile disappeared. Olivia watched recognition flash across his face, followed immediately by rage. This is going to get messy, Dante murmured. I know. Dante's father cut through the crowd, his expression thunderous. What the hell are you doing here? Stopping you, Dante said calmly. You have no authority. I have Maria's shares, which gives me enough votes to block your merger. His father's face went pale, then red. You manipulative little... I learned from the best. Dante pulled the documents from his jacket. The vote doesn't happen without my approval, and I'm not approving this. You can't do this. Watch me. Dante's father grabbed his arm, pulling him aside. Olivia started to follow, but Dante shook his head slightly. Stay back. She watched them argue in heated whispers, neither giving ground. Finally, Dante's father released him and stormed away. Dante returned to Olivia, his expression grim. What did he say? She asked. That if I go through with this, he'll destroy me, publicly, permanently. And I told him to try. The press conference started. Dante's father took the stage, announcing the merger with the Castellanos to thunderous applause. Olivia felt sick watching him smile, knowing what was about to happen. Then Dante stood. The room went silent. I object, Dante said, his voice cutting through the quiet like a knife. His father's smile froze. You have no standing. I have majority voting rights through Maria Ricci's shares, and I'm formally blocking this merger. Chaos erupted. Reporters surged forward, cameras flashed, questions shouted from every direction. Dante's father looked like he wanted to murder him where he stood. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life," his father said quietly, the microphone picking it up anyway. "No," Dante replied. "The biggest mistake of my life was thinking I needed your approval to do the right thing." He turned and walked off the stage, Olivia falling into step beside him. They made it halfway to the exit before security blocked their path. "Mr. Ricci wants to see you," one of them said. "Both of you." Olivia's stomach dropped. "We're leaving." "That wasn't a request." Dante's expression turned cold. "Move." "Can't do that, sir." For a moment, Olivia thought Dante was going to fight them, his entire body coiled with tension, hands clenched, eyes dangerous. Then his father's voice cut through the noise. "Let them go." Everyone turned. Dante's father stood at the edge of the stage, his expression unreadable. "But sir," the security guard started. "I said let them go." His gaze locked on Dante. "This isn't over, not by a long shot." "I know," Dante said. They walked out together, Olivia's heart pounding so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. They made it to the car before either of them spoke. "What happens now?" Olivia asked. Dante started the engine, his hands white-knuckled on the wheel. "Now?" He looked at her, his eyes blazing with something between fury and determination. "Now we finish this." The war started the moment they left the press conference. Dante's father didn't waste time with subtlety. Within hours, legal documents flooded Dante's lawyers. Injunctions, cease and desist orders, accusations of stock manipulation and breach of fiduciary duty. Every trick in the corporate warfare playbook deployed at once with surgical precision. But Dante had spent his entire life learning from the man now trying to destroy him. He knew every move before it happened. They set up a war room in Dante's penthouse, lawyers, accountants, and Luca, who'd shown up uninvited and refused to leave. Documents covered every surface. Coffee turned cold in forgotten mugs. No one slept. Olivia watched Dante transform back into the ruthless strategist she'd worked for, dismantling his father's attacks with the same cold efficiency he'd once used to crush competitors. But something was different now. The cruelty was gone, replaced by something harder to define, purpose maybe, or conviction. He wasn't fighting to win anymore. He was fighting to protect what mattered. 3 days into the battle, Maria called. "Your father's threatening the Castellanos," she said without preamble, "telling them you're unstable, that the deal will fall apart if they stay involved with you." Dante's jaw tightened. "Let him talk. The injunction holds. He can't move forward without my vote." "He's not trying to move forward. He's trying to bury you." Maria paused. "He's calling in favors, old debts. People who owe him are suddenly refusing to work with anyone connected to you." Olivia felt ice settle in her stomach. "Can he actually do that?" "He already is," Maria said. "Dante, if you don't end this soon, there won't be anything left to save." The call ended. Dante stood at the window staring out at the city, his reflection ghost pale in the glass. "Talk to me," Olivia said quietly. "He's going scorched earth, trying to make me toxic, unemployable." Dante's voice was flat. "If he succeeds, no one will touch me. Not just in this city. Anywhere. So we hit back harder." "With what?" "I've already played every card I have." Olivia moved to stand beside him. "Then we find new cards." Dante looked at her, exhaustion carved deep into every line of his face. "You should leave, before this destroys you too." "We've been over this." "I'm serious, Olivia. My father won't stop until he's burned everything I care about. And right now, that's you." "Then let him try." Olivia grabbed Dante's hand, forcing him to look at her. "I didn't come back just to watch you give up when things get hard." "This isn't hard. This is impossible." "Good. You're better when things are impossible." Something flickered in Dante's eyes. Not quite hope, but close. He pulled Olivia against him, his arms wrapping tight around her waist. "I don't deserve you," he murmured into her hair. "You've said that before." "It's still true." "Then earn me." Olivia pulled back to meet his eyes. "Stop wallowing and fight." Dante's expression hardened with determination. "You're right, we're not done yet." He turned to Luca, who'd been watching from across the room. "I need you to set up a meeting." "With who?" "The Castellanos." Luca blinked. You want to meet with the family your father's trying to partner with? Not partner. I want to offer them something better, which is the truth. Dante's smile was sharp and cold. My father's been lying to them about the company's finances, hiding debts, inflating projections. If they knew what they were actually buying into, they'd walk away. Olivia's pulse quickened. Can you prove it? I know where the real books are. My grandfather kept duplicates of everything, insurance against my father's ambitions. Dante looked at Luca. Think you can get me into the estate vault? Luca grinned. Absolutely not, but I'll do it anyway. They moved that night under cover of darkness. The Ricci estate sat dark and silent in the snow. Most of the family scattered after the chaos of the press conference. Luca disabled the security system while Dante and Olivia slipped inside through a side entrance. The house felt like a mausoleum, cold, empty, haunted by memories neither of them wanted to revisit. Dante led Olivia through familiar hallways to his grandfather's old study, the same room where Maria had confronted them during the Christmas party. It felt like a lifetime ago. Dante moved directly to a portrait on the wall, his grandfather in full business regalia, stern and imposing. He pressed the frame's corner, and it swung open, revealing a safe built into the wall. You knew about this the whole time? Olivia whispered. My grandfather showed me when I was 16, made me memorize the combination, said someday I might need insurance against my own family. Dante's fingers worked the lock. Guess he was right. The safe clicked open. Inside sat rows of leather-bound ledgers, flash drives, and sealed envelopes. Dante pulled everything out, his hands moving quickly. There, he said, holding up a flash drive. 5 years of real financial records. Everything my father's been hiding. Footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. Dante and Olivia froze. The study door swung open and Dante's father stood there, flanked by 2 security guards. His expression was ice-cold fury. I knew you'd come here eventually, he said. Always so predictable, Dante. Dante pocketed the flash drive and straightened. Then you know what I'm going to do with this. You're going to give it to me. Right now. Not a chance. Dante's father gestured to the guards. Take it from him. The guards moved forward. Dante stepped in front of Olivia, his body coiled with tension. For a moment, Olivia thought he was actually going to fight them. Then Luca appeared in the doorway behind Dante's father holding a phone. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Luca said cheerfully. Everyone turned. Luca raised the phone, showing the screen. I've been live streaming this entire conversation to the board of directors. Every word, every threat, all of it. Dante's father went pale. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your phone. I'm betting you've got about 30 missed calls right now. Slowly, Dante's father pulled out his phone. His face went from pale to red as he scrolled through notifications. You son of a bitch, he breathed. Runs in the family, Luca said. Dante moved past his father toward the door, Olivia right behind him. His father grabbed his arm. If you do this, you're dead to me, permanently. Dante looked at the hand on his arm, then at his father's face. I've been dead to you since the moment I stopped being useful. This just makes it official. He pulled free and walked out. They made it to the car before Olivia's hands started shaking. Luca drove while Dante sat in the passenger seat, the flash drive clutched tight in his fist. That was insane, Olivia said from the back seat. That was necessary, Dante corrected. Your father looked like he wanted to kill you. He did, but he won't. Not with the board watching. Dante looked at Luca. Tell me you actually streamed that. Every second, the board's already calling emergency meetings. Luca grinned. Your father's done, Dante. This is over. But it wasn't over. Not yet. The Castellanos agreed to meet the next morning at a neutral location, a conference room in a Manhattan hotel, sterile and anonymous. Dante came prepared with documents, projections, and the truth his father had been hiding. The head of the Castellano family was a man named Victor, silver-haired, sharp-eyed, with the kind of presence that filled a room. He listened to Dante's presentation in silence, his expression unreadable. When Dante finished, Victor leaned back in his chair. You're telling me your father has been lying about the company's value? Yes. And you expect me to believe this? Why? You're his son. You have every reason to sabotage this deal. I have every reason to want this company to survive, Dante corrected. My father's merger would destroy it within a year. I'm offering you a better option, which is a real partnership, transparent finances, legitimate growth, everything my grandfather built this company to be. Dante slid a folder across the table. I can make you more money long term than my father ever could, but only if we do this right. Victor opened the folder, scanning the contents. His expression didn't change. Finally, he looked up. You're either the bravest man I've met or the stupidest. Probably both. Victor laughed, sharp and genuine. I like you, Dante Ricci. You've got balls. He closed the folder. But I don't trust you. Not yet. What would it take? Prove you're not your father. Prove this isn't just another con. Victor stood, buttoning his jacket. You've got 1 week. Show me you can actually run this company without burning it to the ground. Then we'll talk. He left without another word. Olivia let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. That went well? He didn't walk away. That's something. Dante looked at her. But now I've got 7 days to prove I'm worth trusting. How are you going to do that? Dante's smile was grim. By doing what I should have done from the beginning, actually leading instead of controlling. The next week was brutal. Dante called meetings with department heads, listened to complaints he'd ignored for years, made changes he'd been too arrogant to consider before. He fired executives who'd enabled his father's corruption and promoted people based on merit instead of loyalty. It was messy, chaotic. Some people quit rather than adapt to the new leadership. But slowly, something shifted. The company started functioning like an actual business instead of a dictatorship. Revenue stabilized. Employee morale improved. The board stopped calling emergency meetings. And Dante changed too. The cold ruthlessness that had defined him softened into something more sustainable, strength tempered with wisdom, power balanced by responsibility. Olivia watched it happen from the front row, equal parts proud and terrified. Because the closer Dante got to succeeding, the more dangerous his father became. On the 6th day, Maria called again. Your father's planning something, she said. I don't know what, but he's been making calls, private meetings. Something's coming. Let it come, Dante said. I'm ready. He wasn't. The next morning, Olivia woke to her phone exploding with notifications, news articles, social media posts, all saying the same thing. Dante Ricci had been accused of embezzlement, fraud, stock manipulation. Evidence had surfaced showing years of illegal activity, forged documents, hidden accounts, kickbacks to offshore entities. All of it fake, all of it expertly manufactured, and all of it pointing directly at Dante. Olivia found him in his office, surrounded by lawyers, his face pale. It's my father, Dante said quietly. He's framing me. Can we prove it? Not fast enough. The SEC's already opening an investigation. If they freeze my assets before I can defend myself... He stopped, jaw working. It's over. I lose everything. Olivia's mind raced. What about the board? Can they help? They're distancing themselves. No one wants to be associated with this. Dante laughed bitterly. My father's good. I'll give him that. He knew exactly how to destroy me. There has to be something we can do. There isn't. Not this time. Dante looked at her, his eyes hollow. You should go, Olivia, before this drags you down too. Stop saying that. I'm serious. My father will come after you next. Use you to leverage me. I can't... His voice cracked. I can't let that happen. Olivia grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. Listen to me. I didn't survive 4 years working for you, didn't fall in love with you, didn't fight this hard to build something real just to walk away when things get bad. Olivia, we're finishing this, together. And if your father wants to come after me, let him. I'm not running. Something broke in Dante's expression. He pulled her close, burying his face in her neck. I don't know how to win this. Then we don't win. We survive, and we rebuild from whatever's left. Dante held her like she was the only solid thing in a collapsing world. Then Luca burst through the door. We've got a problem, he said. Another one? Dante pulled back from Olivia. The Castellanos just pulled out. Victor sent word this morning, says he can't risk association with someone under federal investigation. The news hit like a physical blow. Dante's last chance at legitimacy. Gone. It's done then, Dante said quietly. My father wins. Not yet he doesn't. Luca pulled out his phone. Because I've got something he doesn't know about. What? Isabella. Olivia's stomach dropped. What does she have to do with this? Everything. Luca looked at Dante. You remember what your family did to her after she left? How they destroyed her career, ruined her reputation, forced her to disappear. Of course I remember. She kept records, every threat, every illegal move, every piece of evidence showing exactly how the Ricci family operate. Luca's smile was sharp. And she's willing to testify against your father in exchange for immunity and protection. Dante stared at him. Why would she do that? Because she's tired of hiding, and because, Luca glanced at Olivia, because someone convinced her you might actually be different now. Olivia's throat tightened. You contacted her? Had to. Figured if anyone could bring down your father, it'd be the woman he helped destroy. Dante looked between them, something like hope flickering in his eyes. Where is she? Safe house, waiting to hear from you. Then let's go. They found Isabella in a nondescript apartment in Brooklyn, guarded by lawyers and looking exactly like someone who'd spent 5 years in hiding. Thin, wary, older than her years. But her eyes were sharp when Dante walked in. Hello, Dante, she said quietly. Isabella. Dante stopped a few feet away, his hands in his pockets. I'm sorry. For everything. For not protecting you. For letting them... Save it! Isabella's voice was cold. I'm not here for apologies. I'm here because your cousin convinced me you might actually be worth saving. I'm not sure I am. Neither am I. But I hate your father more than I hate you. So let's work with that. Over the next 3 hours, Isabella laid out everything. Documents showing illegal payoffs, threats made to competitors, evidence of the family's ties to organized crime. Things that would destroy Dante's father, and potentially bring down half the board with him. This goes public. It doesn't just hurt your father, Isabella warned. It hurts the entire company, maybe kills it. I know, Dante said. And you're willing to do that? If it's the only way to stop him? Yes. Isabella studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. All right, let's burn it all down. They released the information strategically, to federal prosecutors first, then to carefully selected journalists. Within hours, the story exploded across every major outlet. The Ricci family empire wasn't just corrupt, it was criminal. Arrests started the next morning. Board members, company executives, and finally Dante's father, led out of his office in handcuffs while cameras flashed. The man who'd built an empire through fear and manipulation was destroyed by the truth he'd spent decades hiding. Dante watched it happen from his penthouse, Olivia standing beside him. How do you feel? She asked quietly. Empty. Dante exhaled slowly. I just destroyed my family's legacy. You saved it. There's a difference. Is there? The company's in free fall. Stock prices crashed. Investors are fleeing. He turned to look at her. I won the battle and lost the war. Or you cleared the ground to build something better. Dante's laugh was hollow. Always the optimist. Someone has to be. They stood in silence, watching the city lights flicker below. Finally, Dante spoke. What happens now? Now we rebuild. Clean house, bring in new leadership, make the company what it should have been from the beginning. That could take years. Good thing we've got time. Dante looked at her, something shifting in his expression. You're staying, even after all this? Did you think I'd leave? I thought you'd be smart enough to. Olivia smiled despite everything. Then you don't know me very well. I'm starting to realize that. He pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her waist. Olivia leaned into him, letting herself believe for the first time that they might actually survive this. The rebuilding process was exactly as brutal as Olivia predicted. The SEC investigation cleared Dante of wrongdoing, but the damage to his reputation took months to repair. The company hemorrhaged money and talent. Entire divisions shut down. But slowly, painfully slowly, things stabilized. Dante brought in outside consultants, reformed the board, implemented transparency measures his grandfather would have approved of. He worked 18-hour days, barely sleeping, driving himself into the ground. Olivia was there for all of it, not as his assistant anymore, as his partner. Equal footing, equal voice. She pushed back when he reverted to old patterns, called him out when he got too controlling, and reminded him daily that power without accountability was just tyranny with better PR. 6 months after his father's arrest, Victor Castellano called. "I've been watching you," Victor said. "The changes you've made, the way you've handled this crisis." "And?" Dante asked. "And I'm impressed. You actually did it. Turned the company around without becoming your father. So what now?" "Now we talk about that partnership, the real one. No lies, no games, just business." The deal took another 3 months to finalize. But when it was done, the Ricci company had a legitimate partner and a path forward that didn't involve corruption or violence. For the first time in his life, Dante had built something that didn't require fear to sustain it. A year after the Christmas party that started everything, Olivia stood in Dante's penthouse, now their penthouse, watching snow fall over the city. The space looked different now. Warmer. Less like a fortress and more like a home. Dante came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "You're thinking too loud," he murmured, just remembering. "Last year? Yeah. That feels like a different life." It was. Olivia turned in his arms to face him. "We were different people. Better or worse?" "Different." She touched his face. "You're less terrifying now." "Only less?" "You'll always be a little terrifying. It's part of your charm." Dante smiled. Real and genuine, nothing cold or calculating behind it. "I have charm now? Don't push it." He kissed her, soft and slow. When they broke apart, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "I never thanked you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For coming back. For staying. For believing I could be better when I didn't believe it myself." Olivia's throat tightened. "You did the hard part. I just reminded you it was possible." "It wouldn't have been. Not without you." They stayed like that for a while, wrapped around each other while snow fell outside. Eventually, Dante pulled back. "I have something for you," he said. "If it's another contract, I'm leaving." "It's not a contract." Dante reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Olivia's heart stopped. "Before you panic," Dante said quickly, "this isn't a proposal, not yet. We've been through too much for me to rush that." "Then what is it?" He opened the box. Inside sat a key. Simple, silver, ordinary. "It's to the cabin," Dante explained. "The one upstate. Where you found me." He looked at her. "I want you to have it. So you always have a place to go if things get too heavy. If I get too much. If you need space." Olivia stared at the key, her vision blurring. "Dante, I'm serious. I never want you to feel trapped again. Not by me, not by anyone." His voice was rough. "So this is me giving you an escape route, always." Olivia took the key with trembling fingers. Then she set it aside and grabbed Dante's face, kissing him hard. "You're an idiot," she said against his mouth. "I know. But you're my idiot." "Is that a yes?" "To what?" "To staying, to building this life, to—" He hesitated. "To eventually saying yes when I do actually propose?" Olivia laughed through tears. "Ask me again in a year." "Why a year?" "Because I want to make sure this version of you sticks around." Dante pulled her close, his arms tight around her. "He's not going anywhere. I promise." And for the first time in her life, Olivia believed him. They spent the rest of the night wrapped around each other, talking about the future instead of surviving the present. Dante told her about plans to expand the company ethically, to use their resources for actual good instead of just profit. Olivia talked about starting a foundation, something that helped people trapped in bad employment situations, gave them resources to escape. "Like what you did for me," Dante said quietly. "Like what we did for each other." By the time dawn broke, they'd built an entire future out of words and hope and the fragile trust they'd earned through fire. It wouldn't be perfect. Dante would still struggle with control. Olivia would still push back too hard sometimes. They'd fight and make up and fight again because that's what happened when two broken people tried to build something real. But they'd survive it, together. Because somewhere between a fake Christmas date and a war with his father, between contracts and confessions and choosing each other over everything else, they'd learned something most people never figured out. Love wasn't about being perfect. It was about being honest, about showing up even when things were hard, about fighting for each other instead of against each other. And sometimes, if you were lucky enough and brave enough and stupid enough to keep trying, it was about finding the one person who saw all your darkness and decided to stay anyway. Dante Ricci had spent his entire life believing he was too dangerous to be loved. Olivia Hale had spent years invisible, believing she wasn't worth being seen. Together, they proved themselves wrong, not because they fixed each other, but because they chose each other every single day, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. The Christmas lights on the buildings outside flickered and went dark as morning fully arrived. Another year ending, another beginning. Dante pulled Olivia onto the couch, wrapping them both in a blanket. She curled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady and strong and real. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "How far we've come. Regret any of it?" Olivia thought about the Christmas party, the fake dating, the contract she'd never known existed, the heartbreak and betrayal and nearly losing everything. "No," she said finally, "I don't regret any of it. Not even the parts where I was a complete bastard. Especially those parts. They made the rest mean something." Dante kissed the top of her head. "I love you." "I know." "That's it? Just I know?" Olivia tilted her head back to look at him. "I love you too, even though you're impossible and controlling and occasionally terrifying." "Only occasionally?" "I'm being generous." He kissed her properly this time, slow and deep and full of promises neither of them had been ready to make a year ago. When they finally broke apart, the city was fully awake around them. A new year, a new chapter, a new chance to prove that people really could change if they wanted it badly enough. Dante Ricci had destroyed his empire to save his soul. Olivia Hale had risked everything to believe in someone the world had written off. And together, they'd built something no amount of money or power could ever buy. Something real. Something worth fighting for. Something that looked a lot like love. Messy and imperfect and absolutely, impossibly theirs. Outside, snow started falling again, soft and quiet, covering the city in white, erasing yesterday, making room for tomorrow. And inside the penthouse that had once been a fortress, but was now a home, two people who'd survived their own worst instincts held each other close and believed, maybe for the first time, that happy endings were possible after all, even for people like them. Especially for people like them. Because the best love stories weren't the ones where everything came easy. They were the ones where two people fought like hell to earn each other, where they faced their demons and chose each other anyway, where they built something beautiful out of broken pieces. Dante and Olivia's story started with a lie, but it ended with the most honest truth either of them had ever known. Love wasn't about perfection. It was about persistence, about showing up, about choosing each other every single day until those choices became habit, and habit became home. And sometimes, if you were brave enough and lucky enough and refused to give up even when everything fell apart, that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.